Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello guys, welcome to another series of Weekend Tech Talk series. Weekend Tech Talk. So for today, we're going to have a special guest. Without any further ado, please welcome Noval Adiprasetya. So, how are you today, Noval?
I am very well. How about you, Zaki?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well. So, what is your topic today, Noval?
So for today, we can English tech talk. We can tech talk. I will explain about V model in Android using Kotlin.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, without wasting any more time, the time is yours.
So before we start coding, I want to explain about V model. So what is V model? V model is a class designed to store and manage data, typically associate, associated with UI, so that the data can be reused when a configuration change occurs. What is the function of view model? Sometimes some configuration changes occur on the device we use, whether it's when the screen rotates, the virtual keyboard appears, and so on. When the change occurs, Android will restart the activity that is currently running. So when we rotate the screen or a virtual keyboard appear, sometimes Android will start the activity, and that will reset the data that already in the activity or in the UI. A simple example, when our application is requesting data to the server, when the activity is accessed, when the data is displayed, suddenly the user rotates the screen. The activity will restart and request the data from the beginning, which shouldn't need to be done anymore. So, uh, this example, so when we request the data from the server, when the screen rotates, it will request another time. With vModel, we don't need to do that anymore. That's why vModel was created. vModel can store and return data that is bound to an activity or fragment. So currently, UI controller in Android is to an activity or or fragment. So that our application can be used the data that was previously owned. And this is the life cycle of vModel. When the activity was created, vModel scope is created. And every time we on create, on start, on resume, and so on, it will not destroy the vModel scope. But if we on destroy the activity, it will on clear the vModel. So if the activity destroyed, the vModel destroyed too. So without any further, uh, let's start coding. And the first thing you need to do, make a new project. Next, and the name of the project will be game score. uh, this is your package name and save location language. Absolutely we're going to use Kotlin, and I'm going to use minimum SDK Android 5.1. Finished. Waiting for Gradle. Configuring project, build model, and it's done. So the first thing we need to do is add some dependencies or plugin. The first plugin we're gonna add is wait, I have a note about it. Cypher.js. You can copy this from the Google. Script, and here is ID. Wait, this one. Cool. And build features for the for I'm gonna use the view binding. Here's to binding true. And we can add a couple of things. I'm gonna take that from my previous project. I'm gonna need some more dependencies for the navigation and signal. Cool. And so the first thing we need to do is build a package, call it a fragment package. And inside of it, we're going to have a fragment, two fragments, score fragment and game fragment. Wait. Game fragment and delete a couple things. This top one, this one, and leave the on create view model like that. And make another active fragment, call it score fragment, and do the same thing as the game fragment. Leave the on create view. Cool. And change both of these into view binding with it private init for binding game fragment and change the and initialize the binding variable with fragment.inflat inflator container false and change the return into binding dot root like that, and we can erase this. Do the same thing in the score fragment. Turn it into binding fragment. Score fragment score binding. Initialize the binding variable in setter dot comma container comma false, and change the return into binding dot root. Okay. And so the concept of this project is inside the game fragment we're gonna have a word. So every time a button press, a word will change. Change this into content layout and add some text. Make it in the middle. For example, word, and add some size into it. Give it 34. Nice. And color. Give it black. And another thing, style. Change it into a bold. Cool. And change the ID into txt wood, and add linear horizontal in the bottom of it. Changes into 0 dp and changes into wrap. Add a button, 3 button, and add the padding into the linear. I think 16 enough, and add a margin for each button. Height. Margin 8 dB. So for this middle one, we're gonna change the text into um, next. Every time the user clicks this next button, it's gonna add a score and change the word. And this one, we're going to change it into skip button. So every time the user press the skip button, the word will change and the score will decrease. And this last one is an theme. So this is when the user is already want to end the game and change the ID. Button skip and button next and button end. Nice. And add another text for the score. Just gonna put it like this. Nicely done. And add a margin. I think 24 is nice. And change the ID. TXT score. Nice. And go to score fragment. We're gonna change the layout. Change this into constraint layout. Same like this one. And add a text view in the middle. Change this into 00. TXT final 4. And add a button in the middle like this. Add some margin. And change the button into this is going to be a play again button. And change the ID button play again and add some size into the text. 24. That's fine. And add some color. Change into black and style. Into bold. Nice. So when the user is finished or the user click the end button, it's going to move to the score fragment and uh, the score from the game fragment will transfer into this. So the next thing is you need to make Android resource directory, a new Android directory navigation one, and make a new navigation resource file. We're gonna call it mynav, and press this button and add this to fragment. Game score, game fragment. Nice. And drag this one into score fragment and drag this into the score fragment. Nice. See the code. Start destination will be the game fragment, and that's it. In the and the next thing you need to do is go to the main activity layout, delete this hello world, and add a fragment, nav host fragment, nav host fragment, my nav. In, changes into match parent and this match parent too. Go to the code, default nav host true, and delete this. And if we run the application, it will the game fragment will appear. Sorry, this is my previous project. Still waiting. Install activity and yes, game fragment. And the next thing we need to do is make another package. It's going to be our view model package, and make 3 class, one for game fragment, one for game view model, and one for score view model, and one is for view model factory. I'm going to explain the factory later. Game view model, and view model, nice, and extend this class into to view model class, and make a variable private file word, and this is going to be an object for mutable live data. Mutable live data, and the type data is string, and add a bracket, and make another variable file. This is going to be an underscore word, and this is word. Sorry, word. And extend this variable into live data string, and I'm gonna set a getter. This is going to be a word, like just like that. And make the same thing for the score. Just copy this one and paste and change it into score. Nice. And make another one for even make another one for even when game finish. Game finished. Wait, this changes into integer and integer 2. And this is boolean. Game finish, and this is game finished. At an init block and initialize all the variable. It's gonna start with word value equals string, and score value equals 0, and game finish value equal false. And we're gonna make a function or a method for make another variable private file, this is word list, and this going to be mutable list string. Nice. Wait. Let init far. Sorry, let init far. Let init far. Into extend mutable list, and just like that. And this is going to be a reset list. Like that, and um, put list for the list of, and I have a list of port in my notes. This you can copy it, paste into here, and put list dot shuffle, and yeah, this is the first uh, function, and add this function and call this function in the init block reset list, and make a new function called next word, um, and this is going to be if port list is empty, game finished, value equals true, else port list dot remove at 0, and just like that. And uh, make another function on correct, and call the next word function and score dot value. Wait, I need to look it from here. Plus one. Sorry. Score dot value plus one. Add a no error, and make copy this. We're gonna make on skip. It's going to decrease the score minus one. Nice. And that's going to be it for the game view model. Go back to the game fragment, make late init var, view model, and game view model. And we can initialize the view model here, view model provider. This is view model owner, checker owner. This is get the game fragment. Wait, game view model. Sorry, this right? Yes, this. Nice. And uh, we're going to observe. Wait, we're going to observe the variable, the word variable. Observe. This is this universal owner, and this is binding dot x word dot x equal it and copy this one, pass on here, change this into score, hit, change this into text this score, hit the to string. Nice. And add another one. It's going to be the game finished, and going to fill that later. And call the button next dot set on please listener. It's going to be the model dot on correct, and make the same one, but for the button skip and change this into on skip. Make another one for the button N, and we're going to make a game finisher function. This will be, we're gonna make a toast, this, and game just finished. Wait, what's wrong? Oh, context. Yes. And make a variable action for fragment game direction. Wait, game fragment direction dot action fragment score, and go to minuf and go to score fragment. Click this and add an argument. It's going to be the final score. The score integer and default is 0. Nice. And go back to the game fragment action dot score equal view model dot score 0 value, and this is an Elvis operation. So if it's false, it's going to be this returning this value, and it's going to be true, it's going to be returning this value. So, and the next thing is find nav controller dot navigate and action, just like that, and game fragment is done. And the next thing is make another view model for the score fragment. Or view model, extend this into view model provider dot factory, and the function of this factory view model factory is when the view model needs need a parameter. I'm sorry, this is still view model. I'm gonna make another one for the factory. Score view model factory. Add the parameter and view model provider dot factory. Nice. Go back to the score view model. Add the parameter final score equal extend ent integer, and make copy the score one, this one, to the game, to the score view model, and initialize score equal score dot value equal final score, and go to the score view model factory and override a function, a create function, and I have and you can write this, type this. Sorry, the at a variable or a property final score extend ent. This is going to check if it's from the score view model or not. So if the view model is score view model, it's going to return the score view model, and if it's not, it's going to throw an error, an illegal access exception. Go back to the score fragment and do the same thing. Make a let init var for the view model. Change this into score view model. And initialize the variable model equals view model provider. And this is going to be a little bit different. This dot comma, view model factory, and that is view model factory, and add a parameter. And this is score direction dot score dot argument dot. I think I forgot something. Wait, let me check. And score fragment IDGS. Sorry, score fragment IDGS. Score fragment IDGS dot from bundle requirement dot score. Nice. And get the score fragment. Score view model. Sorry. Score view model. Plus the Java. This. And we're going to observe the score. Observe this. Sorry, view lifecycle owner and binding dot txt final score dot text equal it dot toString and binding dot button tag again, set a quick listener, find nav controller, navigate r dot id r action score environment. Nice. And go back to the game model, and we're going to do if it equal true, going to run the game finisher. And another thing, view model, I don't know. I think that's all. I think so. We're going to run the app. Wait. It's not supposed to be like this. Wait, let me check. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. And change this word dot value equal word list move at. So it's going to appear a word. So if we click the next button, it's going to add a score and change the text. If we click the skip button, it's going to decrease the score and still change the text. And if we keep on uh, clicking, and it's going to automatically send us into the game score fragment. So play again. You click the end. 9. So let me explain from the beginning. So we've made the nav graph, which contain two fragments, and inside of it we have every fragment is have an action, and from the game fragment action to score fragment, and in the score fragment it has an action to go to the game fragment, and it has an argument named score integer and 0. The default value is 0, and go, and we've made a game fragment which use binding, view binding, and it use view model. And every time the word this variable change uh, is going to observe. So it's going to observe this code will observe the word variable, and if it's changed, it will run this code. And the same thing for the score and the game finisher. A little bit different in the game finish, and if has a check, it need to check it first. If it's true, it will run the game finish. And every button, this button X will run on correct method, and this button skip will run on skip method, and this button N will run this game finisher function. And inside the game finisher function, we will make a toast, and uh, we make a variable which access the score argument here. This is argument. See, go back to game view model. Sorry, game fragment. And if uh, if it's true, it's going to return. If it's false, it's going to return this value. I don't know it's false or true, but between those. And if it's false or true, it will return this value. And when the game finisher is called, it will automatically change or will navigate to will run this variable which navigate into score fragment. We will see the next. We will review this game view model. We have made this variable which contains a word to display it, and a score to display it, and the game finisher boolean. And this is a mutable list. You can see the default value I made. Wait. The word value is string. Default string is this, and score default value is 0, and game finish default value is false. And every time the game view model was created, it will reset the list and display the word. So on this function, it will next word or remove the first word, and plus it will plus the film score value, and in the onskip it will still call the next word function, and it will minus the decrease the value of the score. On this function, it's will check the word list. If it's empty, it will return it will change the game finish value into true. If it's not, it's going to remove the first index of this word list, aka 0 index. So every time a next word was clicked or called, one word from this word list variable will disappear. And when all of this word has disappeared, it will run this code block which going to change the game finish value into true. And every time it's called, the reset list was called, it will shuffle all of the word. Nice. And continue to the score fragment. Instead of this, we use view binding as usual, and we make a variable for the score view model, and we has initialize the binding variable, which inflate fragment score binding. And this view model, we have initialized this variable view model, which contains view model provider, and view model provider has a couple constructor. The first one is the normal one. Where is it? Um, uh, this one. Public constructor. The first one is this is only needs the view model store owner. But if we use the factory, we have to initialize this parameter. So we can use only this. But if our view model has a what is it called, parameter, we need a factory. So because of this view model because this view model has uh, parameter, we need a factory, and it's uh, returning the same parameter like that. In this fragment, we're going to continue, and this code will observe the score variable. If it's changed the value, it will run this code, which um, going to display the score into this text view. And on this button, if we click this button again, it will navigate into game fragment and go to this one. Like I said before, if our view model has a parameter, it will need a view model factory. Inside of this view model, it has a variable which contains score, and it initialize, and the default value of this score variable is this final score from the parameter. And inside of this view model factory, it has a constructor, which inside of it is a property, and we have override a function from this view model factory class, and it will check if this view model factory assigned from score view model, it will return score view model. If it's not, it will throw an illegal access exception, which is going to cause an error. So if we change this into game view model, it will error because game view model doesn't have a parameter. So if we change this and change this, it's still going to work, but it needs to assign from Scorpio model. Sorry, change this back into Scorpio model like that. And yeah, that's basically it. And inside, of course, inside of this activity, we don't need anything because we only displayed the nav controller and it already assigned for my nav. So it automatically display this fragment. And yeah, that's it. Maybe back to the host, Zaki.
Okay, thank you, Noval, for the material. The mat-
You're
the, ma-
welcome.
the material about view model and view model factory. I hope all the material that has been presented by Novel can be useful for all of us. It's like we have reached the end for of today's series. Stay tuned for the next Weekend Tech Talk series. Don't forget to like and subscribe our channel. See you next time. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi
Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh.
wabarakatuh.